Alright, let's do this. Hopefully today I can actually use my brains and I can actually use my words, because last couple of times it just didn't really work out and there were terrible mishappenings when it comes to the videos and things. It was just awful. But in any case, we should be back alright. At this point, I was doing the live stream and just happily placing buildings as I always am, but it didn't really work out that well all the time, so there are actually a couple of cuts here and there to make some custom scenery, because I wanted to get some Amsterdam facades. At least that's sort of how I went into it, but I do have to add to that I did make these facades much lower and, well, just much smaller than the Amsterdam facades that you would have, since it really just wouldn't fit within the scale of the theme park. So they are really downscaled when you compare them to real Amsterdam facades. I suppose it's not really like Amsterdam. I know Amsterdam is the most well-known city, but just take any sort of city with about 100,000 inhabitants or something like that in the Netherlands, and that's about the sort of height that these buildings would have. Just like a smaller sort of city, and not the huge facades that Amsterdam would have. And for that, I just needed a couple of really small, simple scenery pieces, because like I said, there's just barely anything out there that actually has the Dutch scenery in there. So I can't really take credit for it because they're absolutely awful pieces. There's nothing really in it, but I did pick up that really good brick texture, which did really work out there. And of course, I wanted to start working on clock gables that you would find in Amsterdam, but that was just a complete and utter fail. But there were actually some other gables that did sort of work out, so in the end it's alright. And I also had to get some different windows in, because there are just no good windows for this stuff either. I don't know if I'm gonna have to do this for every single part of the park, because honestly, I'm not really feeling that. But then again, the Dutch theme is just something that hasn't really been done too much in this sort of way. At least not that I know of. If anybody knows of a certain park made in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 that does have this specific Dutch theme, then I would really like to see that, because I might actually get some inspiration from it, but I have actually never seen it. Also, one really random thing that I just wanted to throw out there is that, yeah, in episode 90, I think, I did mention, like, some things that weren't right, like the Spanish area of Europa Park consisting out of just one building. That's just what I looked up and that's what I found. I suppose I'm terrible at searching things. Anyway, that is completely wrong, and it turns out to be an actual larger, part of the park than just that, but regardless, it is a bit different from this park. And something that I also got is some comments, like, not being entirely sure what this entire idea is about for this park, concerning the different parts of the park and then having the same themes along the main square. So I'm gonna try to actually explain it right here and not completely suck at explaining it. The basic idea is that you do go through these different parts of the world in the park, and the main square basically has buildings that represent each part of the world along the main square. That's basically how that sort of works, but it's just going to be one building, just one simple facade, just to kind of show along the main square what sort of areas there really are in this park and where you can find them. And the problem currently just still is how I can actually blend that in well with the areas that are here, because obviously the English area is tucked away, or is like tucked away in the corner of the park, because fuck the English anyway, who really gives a shit about them. I might even put it on an island, seriously, but in any case, it's just so far away from the main square that I'm worried about even being able to fit a English looking building along the main square in and actually make that look alright, while also maintaining the Spanish looking thing that the Spanish area still has going on. But that's something to really think about later on. I haven't really explained too much about these Amsterdam facades. I don't know if any people out there are not too familiar with it. I know that a very large section of my viewers is actually Dutch, so that should be alright. But the main thing that I needed to think about is, well, that is actually no main thing really when it comes to Amsterdam facades that I had to think about. There are actually many things. One thing is that they all have to be like at the same distance from the path itself, so there's no messing with different placements of the buildings. This is something that I really got comments about, is the fact that This facade is very flat. Every single building is just connected without any corners around it. No building really sticks out more than the other ones. No building is really tucked away further from the path than the other ones. It's just one big straight line of buildings. Essentially, if you just take away all the different textures, it would be one building almost with just different roofs on it. And that's something that I really just couldn't avoid for realism purposes. Buildings in Amsterdam are actually really simple, and the rest goes for much of the buildings in Holland. Many of the buildings in Holland, whoops. And that's basically why I just had to do it like that. But that does mean that I had to get different textures in there. And these red brick textures, there are not too many of them in Rollercoaster Tycoon 3 yet. So I had to make 2 different brick textures to kind of make that fit in. I think there is also a tiny bit of an older set. There's the granites and the Pets Efteling set sort of wall stucco thing. Whatever that even is, but it looks alright. So I went with that as well. And another thing is that the windows are all the same. And this is something that I was actually quite shocked to see. Well, not exactly shocked. It doesn't shock me to see windows, but I was quite surprised to see that Amsterdam windows are very, very similar. That they just spam the same window all over the place, and that was just something that realistically I just wanted to do in this park as well. And the windows are really just simple, just rectangular windows with nothing to them and white. I think all the windows had white frames, so that's something that I really wanted to get in there. And that's pretty much that. And buildings in Amsterdam are basically just simple, really simple buildings with nothing to the walls and nothing to the windows. The only special and very signature thing that I do have going on is those gables. So you have the stair gables and the clock gables and the whatever sorts of gables there even are. By the way, I was building a bridge over there, which was a really bad idea. I do want to try and make a suspension bridge. Knowing me, that's probably going to fail miserably, but still, I want to try it at some point in time. But in any case, that's like what I just said about the buildings was the things that I really just wanted to take care of and keep in mind while I was building those things. And I don't know how well I really succeeded when it comes to that. I must say, I'm really happy about the buildings, especially considering that I haven't really done the theme before. And there was no real guideline that I had beforehand. But so far, they just really look very dead and no idea what I'm going to actually fill them in with. Because one pretty damn important thing to make your buildings look less dead is of course get something to like actually make them functional. And this is something that I see many people forget, but just simple signs, simple flags, some chairs outside, just a sign of life inside the building is something that is so very necessary when you're doing buildings in a theme park. Because even if they aren't real, like the small details that make it look like it's actually real and that there's actually people inside, or that there's some sort of activity, is something that I would actually like to see. So the signs are something that I still want to work on at some point in time, just assign different sorts of shops to different buildings. Speaking of that, I might just get a coffee shop in one of these buildings. Like honestly, it's a fucking theme park in Rollercoaster Tycoon 3. Am I really going to give too much of a shit about what is really going on within the park? So I might just sort of make a small coffee shop. Not that I would like sell weed in it, that's a terrible idea, but I don't know, weed lollipops or something? That would be an alright thing for a theme park, wouldn't it be? I think it would be alright. Plus that's the only bad thing. Like what's Amsterdam known for? What do people go to for Amsterdam? They don't come for the facades. Well, they come for the facades, but not the facades that I'm typically building in Rollercoaster Tycoon 3, and the weed, of course. So that's pretty much what I'm probably gonna have to work on in the park as well. Though I'm definitely not gonna get prostitutes over here in this park. So what sort of things I really want to do in those facades is gonna be pretty tough. Maybe just 2 shops in the entire row of facades. But in any case, this general area is just going to be a couple of buildings, just a tiny bit of scenery, 1 ride, at least that's the current planning, but not much more. I've seen so many people just ask for rides in the Dutch area, which is something that I would have liked to do as well, but it's just something that, well, for one, I didn't really feel like I would be able to pull it off well. And there's also the fact that it's really just a bit of a transition area, and there's just not enough space over here at the moment. And I don't want to completely redo everything and make that work somehow. Oh, and this thing, by the way, because it's been building for quite a while, but I haven't even talked about it, is a train station which is sort of inspired by both a train station in The Hague and in Amsterdam. And that's pretty much what's going on over there. It's really just a tiny bit of an experiment. It's inspired by these stations, but really not the same. But it does have the same sort of style, which would be 2 towers on the sides with the nice little spires. So that's always nice. But this is definitely something that I have to get back to later, since there really aren't any good details for this kind of building. And I will get back to that later, because, yeah, I see that my time is about to be up. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later at some point in the future. I hope that that's not going to take too long, but I need to get my ass and actually work on this park again, because I've been doing quite a bit of summer showdown stuff lately, and going to London also wasn't exactly great for my upload schedule, so I'll try to work on that for a tiny bit. So peace. What the fuck? I never say peace. I have no idea where that came from. Just somehow.